Today, I'd like to go over Chapter 2. In this chapter, we'll use the group by, having, and orders. First, connect the database, connect and oracle.dvc.edu, and put your login name, password, and connect. So here you can see the group by, having, order. So first one is run the select statement. So select gives you the columns from state in a table. So selecting employee ID, order year, and then once you select it, you get the so same way, order ID, customer ID, employee ID, order date, and these are the columns of sales dot order table. Sales is a schema. Under specific schema, you have order table, orders table. So where clause is applying to a filter. So if you do not apply where and just select from table, it will show you all the records. So you have 830 records shown. But if we apply where condition, it filters only customer ID equals to 71. Look at the customer ID. So if you want to select only the customer ID 71, then you say 71. If you want to add, so you can add the customer ID, so when you filter it, you can see. So on the left side, you will see customer ID 85, 79, 34, all those customer IDs. But when you apply customer ID 71, look at that one. You see only records with the customer ID equals to 71. The group by clause is employee ID and order date, but you're selecting extracting year only. So you're grouping by order date, but you care only about the year the order was made. So you use the group by employee ID. So particular employee ID, you see the order date. So you see the employee 1, there were orders in 2006. Employee 1's ID same one. There's a number of records in 2007 and 2008 also. So when you apply group by, you must use aggregate function. Here is an aggregate function. So employee ID, and you have combined with the where clause, group by employee ID. So you have sum is also aggregate function. Count is aggregate function. So count asterisk means all the records. That's what it means. So in this case, you see the employee ID, year, date, and you can also have distinct inside count. So this will display distinct employee ID first, and how many records will return. And alias name is called num-customs. So you care about year, the employee. So you're grouping by employee ID, and you're using aggregate function such as year and year. So you're getting only the year, not month, not date. And I also care about the count, number of distinctive customer ID. Distinctive is a unique customer ID. associated with the particular employee ID. Having clause is applying to aggregate function. So in this case, when you look at the employee ID year from the table, then you have having count is bigger than 1. So it applies to the number of records returning more than 1. So first select only without only those 4 lines without having. Then it will display all the records. Now, if you use the having clause with it, it will display only the records with having records returning more than 1. So this is a simple select statement, select order ID and order date. First, if when you use that way, then it will be on the top there is an alias. So alias can be without any comma, then it will be order ID will be called by order date. So make sure you have a comma between that one. So order date is an alias name, but I want you to put AS in front of alias name like this. So it's more specific and easier to read. In this case here, having count number of records more than 1, but grouping by employee ID, and you have AS, which is an alias name. So it's another way to call because this will display only year. So you want to use an alias name a little bit more descriptive, such as order year instead of order date. Order date implies a specific month and date. But since you're extracting only year, you want to have an alias name with the order year. Same as count is the same as number orders, a little bit more descriptive. In this case, you are selecting year equals to 2000, higher than 2006. So you are grabbing all the order IDs. So when you copy this, you can work customer ID equals to 71. Having count is more than 1. Distinct employee ID, year, order date. So look at that one. You're getting the distinctive employee ID and only the year. So instead of using the group by, you can also use the distinct because group by will display number of count. But if you do not care about the number of records associated with employee ID, then you can use a distinct. So customer ID equal to 71. Employee ID, so you're getting the distinctive employee ID and year, ordered year. So employee 5 has there's some orders made in 2007. Employee 6, some orders made 2007 and 8. Select everything from sales schema. And under that schema, you have a shippers table. Selecting everything, you have 3 records coming from their table. Order by, if you want to use the order by, that means you can sort them in specific order. So in this case, you have order by employee ID and order years. So it's going to sort by employee ID first. Then it's going to sort under that employee ID. It's going to sort by ordered year. So easier to read, and usually you come up with this kind of query for generating a report. You can do it by descending order if you want to display these records on descending order. Then that means employee ID is the highest, will be shown on the top. So such as this 87654 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So you have option to use a descending order or ascending order. If you do not put descending, that means ascending order by default. Order by hire date, if you want to sort by the hire date, you can do so. So order by means the followed by the column. So you can display by hire date. So you can see on the last column, you say hire date. By default is ascending order. So smallest number come on the top. 2002 April and 2002 August. 2003 May, etc. So sometimes you want to look at only the care about only the top 5, meaning instead of using grabbing all the records, you can simply want to see what is the order date descending order. So that means that you want to see the latest 5 orders. So that means that you have a top 5 and order by order date descending. So it's going to display by descending order, but you care only the last 5 records. So use the top 5. Very useful. You don't want to look at the other records. Then you can say top 5. You can do the same thing order date without the descending. That means uh, the first 5 orders instead of latest 5 orders. You can also use the percent. The percent means that all the records returning from the table, the select statement, you care only about the 1% of the records. Why do you want to do this? That's because the performance. If you, instead of grabbing all the records, if you grab only the 1% and what you get the records what you need, then there's a performance benefit on that one. Order ID, and this one is row num, very special function. That order number will generate numbers automatically. So partition by customer ID, order by value, and it's called row num. So look at the number here. It's going to show customer ID, and you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there are more records. So a customer ID 11111 and the row num is 5 shown like this. But when you have next, so these are all the records. I'm going to delete that one. See here. So employee 1, the highest number is the 5 records. Now, when it reaches all the records, then it's going to show customer ID 2, and it's going to start again 1, 2, 3, 4. And you see the customer ID 3 on the bottom, and it starts with the 1 again. So it's very useful, this tool, row num. Usually you make a report, and instead of using static, it will automatically generate all these sequences. See, 2 have 4 records here. The customer ID equal to 2. You see 1, 2, 3, 4 shows up. This 1, 2, 3, 4 will repeat again for the next customer. So this one is the in between like. Instead of using the word statement with the equal sign, you can also use the in if you have multiple values. So order ID in means that you have multiple values, order IDs inside there. So either use this or you can use the order ID equals to 10,248 and or probably you say have or employee ID equals to again. So this in is very useful because in between is the number all the records between 10,300 and 10,310 all the records. So it's kind of filter. You care only the records with these values between these two values. So you have option to use the like command. Like means the last name is starting with a D. So person sign means it's wild card. So it will match all the records. So it care about the any characters starting with D. Last name starting with the D will be displayed. The percentage is the wild card. So anything starting with the D will be shown. You can also have comparison operators such as the uh, equal to, less than, or not equal to, all those. So in this case, order date is the greater than or equal to 2008 and January 1st. So you can see the order date is shown January 9th, etc. It can combine, make a more conditions where the first statement order date and also you applied employee ID in 1, 3, 5. So that means the employee ID must be 1, 3, or 5. And order date has to be greater than 2008. So you can have select statement 10 plus 2 times 3, that it will return value 16 because multiplication will be done first, then addition will be executed. So 2 times 3 is 6 plus 10. So it equivalent to 16. If you want to execute the addition first, then you can do 10 plus 2 with the parentheses. So that is 10 plus 2 is 12 times 3. That is equivalent to 36. The select statement, in this case, we're going to use the case expression. Case is category ID is a column. Case is if certain cases, certain conditions are met, then it will execute the other ones, such as this one here. Case ID. When case ID equals to 1, then it will return beverages string value. When category ID equals to 2, then it will return the condiments. When category ID is equal to 3, then it will return confections. So on here, you can see the category name. One is beverages. You see the last column is called category name. So dynamically, you can create additional column. You can apply the same thing with the number. The case, when you say case when value is less than 100, you can do the same thing. When you have null value, you cannot use region equal to null. You must use, if you use the region equals to null, it will not return any records. Whenever you use null value compared with the null value, you must use is statement there. So region is equal to null, then it will return all the records. Null does not, null by default, null value does not exist. That's why you cannot compare with it. You can also, you can only do that with the is statement. Last name is equal to Davis. Then it will return one records. So why does not return any records on the bottom one here? Because the Latin general CSAS. So its different case means it will behave differently. So collation is the certain uh, cases. So if you want to look at how it works, you can have a function help collation, and it will display what description of all these collations. Why does it concatenation? When you combine with the first name and last name, you can use by default plus sign. So you have plus um, followed by the N means just the national character. So you have space between first name and last name. You can also use the Qualys function. Function will handle the null values. If your region is the null value, you cannot use the plus symbol. You must use the Qualys function. So on here, you can see region. If the region is null, you still get records return. See here, region is null, but you also get the location. If we do not use the Qualys function, you will not have any records return. Write, length, date length, chart index, all these are built functions. These are very useful. Substring A, B, C, D, E, and you are extracting A 1 through first starting with 1, and you're going to copy up to 3 characters. So A, B, C will be copied. Substring grabs characters from a string. So first, so in this case, write means the string, and you're grabbing from the right side 3 characters. That's why you have a CDE shown. Length is returning 5 because it tells you how many characters in there. But data length, it will display 10 because each character will take 2 bytes space. So that's why it shows a 10. Char index will grab empty space. You're comparing a string and you're looking for a space. Where space is located? Then it will display 6 because on the 6th place it is empty string, empty character. In here, pattern index. Pattern index is the wild start with wild. So any character starting with the 0 through 9, I want to see the location first, the number. So you see the A, B, C, D, and followed by 1. So 1 is integer value. So that's why it shows 5. Replace means you're gonna find a string and replace with another character. So whenever it sees the dash there, it will replace with the colon. So you can apply with the table column, employee ID, last name, length, minus length, replace last name where E will be replaced with the empty value. So you can see the number occur. Stuff is putting a certain string into a certain place. So stuff means X, Y, Z, but you care about the putting the ABC right where the second character is. So it's going to replace the second character, Y, and it's going to place the ABC. So that's why you see A, X, ABC, and Z there. So stuff is number 2, indicating the second character, and the third one, 1, stands for the how many character you want to replace with the following string ABC. Upper is a function that returning lowercase uppercase into all uppercase. Lower means the when you have IT uppercase I T Z Z I K, everything will be lowercase. So you can see on the right side it's all lowercase. R trim, L trim is useful. You're gonna remove only the empty space. That's why when you run that, you have only ABC. Select format. Format is a function that 1759 will be with the 00001759. So format is the 000, and you're gonna put the 1759 into that format. You care about the select statement there and the last name like A through E. Anything, any last name starting with A, B, C, D, E, then it will be displayed. You have a not equal to A through E, so that's why you do not see any records with last name starting with A through E. So select, we're gonna look into the date add function. Date add is a year. Yeah, I'm adding 1 year into 2009 to February 12th. So that becomes 2010. Date add is a function that adds a 1 year to the value 2009. So year and how many year you want to add. So when you put the cursor there, it will highlight and it will display. It will show you the description of the function. State. State is useful because on the first select statement there is the valid date. Second select statement is not valid because it shows 2009 February 80. Doesn't we don't have higher than 30 in February. That's why it's not date. That's why its date is it will check the is valid date or not. If it is not, then return if it is not valid, then it will return 0. It's a very useful tool. End of month. If we do not know the certain end of the month, then there's a function built in EO month. So it will tell you sysdate is today's time, and it will end because you're running end of the month. What is the last date of this month? Well, it's the September 30. It can also have next to the end of the month, you can put the sysdate so you can see the time there.